And the big learning here was that we were able to take what was a small point solution for a local nonprofit and turn it into a national product, a platform that they could administer and make money from. This is the kind of thing that any entrepreneur building a platform could do if they would go from their client level and think bigger. This is the key to building a large product out of something that started quite small. It's about design and business thinking in the outset. Hi, I'm John Williamson, a strategic system designer. I want to talk about a project I did related to electronic learning, online learning. It was all related to the home buyer education business, which most people don't know exists, but it was a very nascent area that we were able to build a platform that really became the standard nationwide for this type of content. Okay, so let's dive into the details. First of all, home buyer education is a strange topic. Most people don't know what it is because they're not using a government backed loan that requires it. But there are special loan programs that have a government requirement for a home buyer to get home buyer education. This is always for a first time home buyer. It's administered by local nonprofits who are supposed to oversee this. In every metropolitan area, there is a home ownership nonprofit that is partially funded by the government to promote and support home ownership, especially first time home buyers, especially for marginalized groups. The problem with this, it's a clumsy certification process. So it was difficult to administer. It was challenging for the nonprofits to be able to distribute education to the individuals and make sure that they got certified in the logistics and the Saturday, training programs in the local office that were far away from buyers. And then the burden for the home buyer made it so that the program was underutilized and the actual intent of this incentive wasn't being taken advantage of. And ultimately, it was sort of a waste of money in a lot of ways because the amount of homeownership funding going into this wasn't resulting in the number of qualified, educated home buyers that could qualify for these certain loans. Let's solve this problem. Okay, so here's what we designed and built. First of all, in the middle was a branded platform. So it was very important for the local nonprofit to maintain some identity around the service they were delivering. What wasn't as important was the actual production of the content and the management, administration, and the oversight of delivering that content. So that's what the platform did. It had courses. There were actually multiple courses that were involved in this, depending on the scenario. They had videos and they were animated and live action videos that went along with text. And this was based on original training material and then enhanced and expanded upon. There were quizzes along the way to make sure that everyone actually paid attention to the content, could answer questions, and longer form tests at the end, which ultimately resulted in a standardized and qualified certificate that the home buyer could then take to their lender, and that would qualify as the home buyer education. Now, the home buyer, they always paid something. Now, they probably pay a little bit more now than they originally paid because it used to lose money, and now the whole program makes money. And this money gets divided up between the local nonprofit that can actually set their own price with a base fee going to the platform provider to administer this whole thing. It actually went from something that lost money and cost money to the local nonprofit to administer to something that made money and was quite turnkey. And for the home buyer, it was much, much simpler to do online than it was to ever go into a classroom several Saturdays in a row to do this. And so the platform provider then had signed up as many local nonprofits as possible. I think by this time, they've got the vast majority of the entire nation's local nonprofits using this platform. It is the standard, and it's been quite successful for the local nonprofits as well as the platform provider. Now, here's the learning. So we actually were working with one of the local nonprofits. That was the group that I had a relationship with that we ultimately built this platform for. They asked for something quite simple, which was, is there an online way to deliver this content to our people because we're tired of setting up Saturday programs? But in the design of the platform, we thought about it from a national perspective first. with localization of branding and moderate level of customization at the content level. So we actually built a kind of what you would now call a standard e-learning platform, but when we built it back in 2007, there weren't a lot of online learning platforms readily available. Now there are more sort of template plug and play programs, but with the customization components so that different modules could be added that were unique to certain locales. You could skip certain modules. There were differences in what homebuyer education meant in the South versus the North because of the weather, local regulations, and additional insurance requirements, if you're on the coast or not, those kinds of things. So all of this had to be able to be easily customized. This goes back to our configuration-led design. That is the most important thing you start with here, because then you can easily adapt to the content-specific needs of each locale. Had we not done that, this would never have worked. And the big learning here was that we were able to take what was a small point solution for a local nonprofit and turn it into a national product, a platform that they could administer and make money from. It actually became a source of sustainability for our partner, the local nonprofit, and lifted them up on a pedestal nationally. This is the kind of thing that any entrepreneur building a platform could do if they would go from their client level and think bigger, whether their client's going to be the one to take it bigger or they're going to ultimately help in that process from an entrepreneurial perspective. This is the key to building a large product out of something that started quite small. It's about design and business thinking in the outset. I hope this helps a little bit.